Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Vendor Voices podcast. This is your host, Sammi, photographer, and I'm here with my amazing co-host, Korrigan.
Hey guys, Korrigan, how's it going? Wedding filmmaker here in Chicago, just here with Sammi as well. And we're ready to talk about some wedding stories from Reddit. We're doing another Reddit episode because we loved the first one so much.
Yeah, and you guys did too, so we're going to do it again.
That was super fun. So anyway, it is currently December as we're recording this, and it's actually our first morning episode. Yeah. We're up early. We typically record these in the afternoon, but we got to the studio at like 8 this morning, so it's a fresh start to the day with a nice podcast.
Yeah.
So yeah, Sammi, how's your end of year wrap up? It's about December, wedding season's kind of dying down a bit more. How is that feeling? How is it coming out of such a busy season?
Yeah, it has been such a busy season. This was definitely my busiest year that I've ever had. And it's been amazing. But yeah, it's definitely starting to come to a close. I have one more wedding, actually 2 more weddings this year. And then it will be officially the wrap of 2024. But I also do a lot of family photography as well. So I've been super busy with all the holiday mini sessions that I've been doing for families and couples too. So that's been really fun. We're recording in my studio, which is fun. If you guys didn't realize that, I do have a photography studio here in Chicago.
It was so fun because the last time we recorded with Liz, I walked in and got to see you doing some photos with her as well. And so I was like, oh, Sammi in her prime, here we go in the studio. Yeah. It was super cool.
Yeah. So I transition a bit from weddings to focusing more on families in the winter time. And but how about you? How's everything wrapping up for you?
It's going good. Definitely out of the craziness of, I think my busiest month was July to September, kind of those kind of time of the year. Yeah. So it's been kind of slowing down since October, which has been nice. But I do have 2 more. I have one next weekend, and then I always do New Year's Eve weddings. I think I've done one the last 3 or 4 years. And so I do have one New Year's Eve, which is fully sending off 2024, which I kind of love. Yeah. It's it takes away from maybe me celebrating New Year's Eve, but I love to be there with a couple, which is super fun.
Yeah, it's such a fun celebration.
Yeah. And then a bit of update on Reagan and I's wedding planning.
Yeah, how's that going?
It's been going really good. We actually had a chill week last week. We were let's actually take the week off from wedding planning. Let's just kind of focus on us for one of our Sundays. Yeah. And but next Sunday, which is tomorrow, we're kind of going full force. We have a few hours of stuff to get done. So awesome. Definitely ready to dive into that.
Are you guys going to do a little date day?
Yeah, that's kind of our whole thing is okay, we have in the morning we have church, and then afterwards we're okay, this is wedding planning time. Yeah. We're totally getting to it.
I love that. It's good to have a designated time set. Yeah. Where you guys are both on board about okay, we're going to dive deep into the wedding planning.
Yeah, I think that's something Liz mentioned last week as well. Is something okay, you have to have a date night or a designated time. Yeah. Otherwise it can't just be free roam, I'm just getting out of the shower and then we're talking about wedding stuff. Yeah, it's wait, my brain's
getting into bed and you're
or about to go to work.
Yeah.
It's
you
a bunch of stuff.
You gotta find the right time to
if my brain's in work mode, I can't be wait, let's talk about my personal wedding real quick. I'm trying to think about other people's. But,
for sure. Definitely.
Well,
cool.
Anyway, let's get into some of these Reddit stories and just dive in.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's dive in.
Okay, here's our first Reddit story. It is titled, "What's a good amount of time between engagement and the actual wedding?" Which is really great. I'm engaged currently, so I feel I have a good perspective on this. Yeah. And this was posted, I think, pretty recently. This was posted 2 days ago. Okay. So it says, "I got engaged this Wednesday to my boyfriend of 2 years. I absolutely love him so much, and I'm excited to spend life with him. Wedding stuff feels slightly overwhelming to me, though. It feels like a lot to plan. He proposed, and we want to wait 1 to 2 years till the wedding, maybe 2027, so we have time to plan. I feel like that's a good idea. Just wondering what everyone else did. We want to save up a budget for the wedding. It'll be small, but still special to us. I'm currently 24, we're also currently 24 and 22 years old. So this will give us another 2 years of being lovingly engaged and a bit older for a proper wedding. We already have been living together for a year. I feel like we're made for each other." Oh, that's so sweet.
That is sweet.
Let me know what you did and how you organized the wedding stuff properly. Feels like a lot of stuff to think about. Guests, food, venue, clothes. We also live overseas, so we'll have to travel to America to get time off. We'll have to travel to America and get time off of work. So it's like a lot to plan.
Yeah.
So it sounds like they're doing their wedding in the US, but they live overseas.
Okay.
So it's a lot to plan. And that's the full post. What's kind of like your thoughts on that?
Yeah, initially, I mean, I think 1 to 2 years is a good time frame. It allows you plenty of time to plan a wedding without a ton of stress, and also allows you to have time to save up and have a little bit more budget to have the dream wedding. And also at 22 and 24, that is pretty young. So I feel like they have a lot of life ahead of them. There's no rush. I mean, it's not like, they are, pushing like 35 or something and want to,
just jump the gun,
let's start a family, do all these things. It sounds like they have a pretty good perspective. They're like, okay, we'll take some time. And I think most people, generally speaking, take about a year to 2 years.
I think a year is like definitely super standard. Me and Reagan and myself did 2 years, and we felt like that was great. We actually like the first year. This is just on us, kind of being maybe I don't want to say lazy, but we didn't really do much the first year, honestly. Like we booked our venue in the first 6 months, but then we still like wanted a year of just like engagement. Let's just be an engaged couple before we like dive into wedding planning. And that's what she looks like she's kind of writing here. Actually, she didn't say gender, but it sounded like she is like I'm not sure the gender of this person, but it says that they want to be lovingly engaged. So it's like, take some time to just do that without like
just enjoy it,
worrying about wedding planning every week. So
because I do think that for some couples, once you start diving into the wedding planning, it can add some stress that is understandable, and it doesn't need to tear anybody apart. But I think it's nice to have that time period probably of just being engaged. And
it is a lot to save up for, especially if they're doing an international wedding for them. So it's like they got to plan travel, time off work. It totally makes sense that like 2 years, I would suggest 2 years to this person, because it sounds like they want to be engaged. They want to save up. Like, I feel like 2 years is almost going to be easier than 1 year for them. And maybe that's me being biased because I did 2 years. But Reagan and I also did like about a year of living together beforehand as well. So it sounds like a very similar situation to where we're at. But cool little question. If
you guys are getting married and you're listening to this podcast, why don't you comment below? How long are you guys planning to be engaged? And if you already are married, let us know as well. How long was your engagement? Some people literally get engaged and they get married 3 months later, 6 months later. It's doable if that's your situation. You need to do that or you want to do that. I mean, with a good wedding planner, you could definitely probably pull that off. Or if you're having something more small and intimate. But, there's no pressure. I mean, there's no, if you love somebody and you want to spend the rest of your life with them, then what is the rush, right?
Totally, yeah. I had a friend actually this past year. They had a pretty short, I think it was around like 6 months or around that like under a year timeline. And it was a beautiful like intimate wedding, and it was just like super special for them. So it can totally be either way. So. Cool. Yeah, let us know. We're super curious. So.
Yeah, let us know.
All right, let's get into the next story here.
Let's do it.
Let me see here.
You want to pass it to me?
Yeah, I'll pass it to you, Sammy, for this one. Trying to pick one for you. Okay, just read up until it's the first edit.
Okay.
Don't read the edit. This one does have an update, guys, so be on the lookout for that.
Okay.
This one's a bit interesting. It's about a topic we actually haven't covered here before, and I don't talk about it often, but this one's about a hired maid of honor.
A hired maid of honor.
A hired maid of honor. That's something people do. They're like, hey, let me just hire this maid of honor so I don't like ruin friendships with my real friends over a wedding. It's a very interesting topic.
All right, let's dive in. This is interesting. Okay, so the poster says, hi, so I have more guy friends and some girlfriends, but not close enough to have them as my maid of honor. So I hired this amazing maid of honor who got along with everybody. She was this amazing person and just what I needed. I was kind of skeptical at first, but found her through word of mouth. Let's call her Tina. Okay. I hired Tina 5 months before my wedding. She helped with everything. She was like my best friend for those 5 months. My work friend had hired her as well, even though she had a maid of honor. Her reason was she didn't want to ruin friendships like many do during weddings, so wanted someone like Tina. Tina was great. for 5 months, she helped me with everything. She was there for everything, went above and beyond. She was great. During the wedding, everyone fell in love with her too. Her contract was clear. We stopped all communication 1 month after the wedding. Aw. And I miss her so much, honestly. It kind of hurts. It's been 6 months. She was my sounding board through so much fights, drama, everything. Would it be unprofessional, or can I like reach out to her and ask if she actually wants to stay friends?
Is that the end of the post there?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, isn't that so interesting? This is a topic I don't even hear much
Yeah.
about. I had heard about it on a different podcast actually, and I was like, oh, that's a
hired
thing.
maid of honor.
And you know what?
This is new to me. I've not heard
You
of
haven't
this.
even heard of this?
No.
And it makes me think, as like, you know, a vendor, as a filmmaker, being at so many weddings, I see a bunch of maid of honors, but I obviously never ask, is this a hired maid of honor? I always
Right.
assume this is like this person's best friend.
Yeah.
And so it makes me think, like, I think obviously it's more popular to just have your best friend do it, definitely.
Yeah.
But it is a thing that people do.
Yeah, that's so interesting. If you're listening, have you guys ever heard
Heard
of
of
this
this.
before? Is this a new thing? Is
I
this
think it is semi-newer since like
hired
the
maid of honor?
internet.
It's almost like sounds like hiring a wedding planner.
Yeah,
Who is
and
in the wedding? Do they stand up though?
That's
do
what-
they get a dress?
I think they do. Yeah, I think they do. And I think it is very similar to a wedding planner because, again, they're helping their friend,
Yeah,
like, go through all the
plan.
wedding planning, go through all the drama. Like, for 5 months, that's a long time to talk to
It's
somebody,
almost like
every
you're
week.
hiring your therapist to be your maid of honor because
Totally.
the whole like afterwards communication stopping, it kind of feels like, okay, there is that professional line
Yeah.
where like, okay, my job is done and now she's going to go be maid of honor for another bride.
Yeah.
So she doesn't have the time to be like maid
Yeah.
of honor duties. Like,
Totally. And I see why she would say, like, we have to cut off communication. It sounds harsh, right? It sounds
It
like,
does
oh,
a little
man,
bit.
I can't, like, just talk to this person. Like,
Yeah.
if one of my couples, like, reaches out to me, I'm like, oh, yeah, let's chat. Let's, like,
Yeah.
let's go grab coffee again or something like
Yeah,
that.
totally.
Like, but obviously, I'm not, like, with them for the whole thing. I'm not standing up in their wedding. It's, like, a very weird
Yeah.
or interesting dynamic. I
That's
don't want to say
very
weird.
interesting. Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. If it's, so the question is
Yeah.
it unprofessional for her to reach back out, like, hey, let's be friends?
yeah.
Personally, I'm saying, like, reach out. I
Yeah.
don't know if it's
Yeah,
someone who
why
like
not?
everybody loves,
Yeah.
but it also is very similar to like, oh, asking your therapist to like go be friends with you.
Yeah, which is, I mean, ethically, they're not even allowed to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
But this is different. This isn't an ethical, like, predicament
Yeah.
as much as it would be if you're talking about, like, a therapist or something. So, I mean, I hope she reaches out.
Yeah, that's my first thing too. Is like, if this, I'm
Yeah.
always a people person. Like, if I find somebody who's like, oh, this could be a friend of mine, like, I'm always
Yeah.
like, let me at least take the first step and see if they reciprocate.
Yeah. Okay, so there is an edit to this post, and it says, I've decided I won't contact her.
Dang.
She says, thanks to everyone for their advice, but the more I think about it, I'm so appreciative that I had her. Not everyone gets to be lucky enough to have super close girlfriends. She was a godsend to me. But yeah, I recognize that I'm going through some sonder. She has her own life. So I guess not.
Which, when I read this post, I don't know if I've ever heard the word sonder used in an actual sentence. I love the word
Me
sonder.
neither.
I love the word sonder. We have a friend who has the word sonder tattooed. Do you know what the word sonder means? It's a very unique word. It means that, like, the sonder is the recognition that everybody is living their own lives and has their own thing going on. Like, it's like just the realization, like, oh, that cab driver on the street has a bunch of stuff going on in his life. He has an entirely different.
Yeah.
It's just like taking a moment to recognize, like, it's not just me. I'm not just
Yeah.
the main character.
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting topic, but I've never heard it used in a
Yeah.
sentence. But her thing is like, hey, this person was doing their job. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and she apparently did the job really well.
Yeah,
Like,
which is great.
yeah.
So props to her, Tina.
Yeah.
Just,
Shout out Tina.
shout out to Tina.
And I don't know, I did read through this post before, but she actually said some people were asking in the comments, like, who is this person? Can you refer me? I want this person to be my maid of honor, which is like, there's a demand for this.
Wow.
This is a vendor I've never heard about.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to be like in the industry for a few years, but just like, I've never, you know,
Yeah.
come across this.
Yeah.
And everyone was asking, like, can you refer me? And she's only allowed to give 3 referrals. Like, there's a limit to referrals because she's like, apparently so backed up, or like, you know, I can't, like,
Wow.
it's either she's so backed up or like my thought is like, why would she limit to 3 referrals? Maybe she doesn't want to get so wrapped up in a friend group. Because if you're a referral, you're probably referring your friend.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be maybe similar guests see you at these weddings. Like it can just be a spider web. I don't know.
That's true. Also, being a maid of honor is a big responsibility.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just, it's a lot. So maybe she's like, all right, I can't be maid of honor to too many people at a time.
And it's like 5 months of planning. That's a lot. Like you could probably only do like 2 or 3 of these a year, I would assume.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder as a vendor, like, what is she charging to be a maid of honor? I don't know. Like, what is this?
What would you even charge?
I don't know. I don't know what I would pay for like someone like this.
Are you charging by the hour? Like that's a lot of months of planning.
I think it would be a flat fee. I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyway.
Well, interesting.
Interesting story. I think this one
Have you guys ever hired a maid of honor?
Again, have you heard of this?
Or have you heard of this? Let us know.
Let us know.
What are your thoughts?
Interesting one. Let's jump into the next story, though.
Yeah, let's jump into it.
Wasn't that interesting?
Yeah, it's really interesting.
I'd never even heard of that. I was like, I have to include a vendor I've never heard of.
Yeah.
Okay, let's jump into one. This is kind of a shorter one about budgeting.
Okay.
So, this says just the topic of this post is just budgeting ? It says help. My fiance and I got engaged recently, yay, and I'm so excited, but I'm worried about budgeting. I wanted to keep it in the $10 to $15,000 range.
For a wedding?
For a wedding. So
Good luck.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying already. But the venue is already $4,000. So, okay, that's about a third of your max budget. It's crazy. And I'm trying to decide.
That's not even that much for a venue.
It's not. It really isn't. Especially here in Chicago, when we were looking at Chicago venues, like the cheapest we could find was like 10,000, which is like it would just be you and your husband.
It probably doesn't even include food or.
No, yeah, it's crazy. They say, and I'm trying to decide between photographers, and one is 2,000 and one is 3,500. And I love the more expensive one. Her style is beautiful. I was thinking of doing $1,000 to $1,500 for the wedding dress. And I'm wondering if anyone has a budget ideas or how I should split up my costs, or if anyone could help me budget this wedding. I am not paying for the venue, but I still want to be able to keep it within a reasonable range. Okay, so they're not paying for the venue. It sounds like it may be covered by a family member there. But yeah, that's the end of the post. It's a pretty short post. This was 2 days ago. So yeah, she's just realizing her main question is she has 2 photographer options. One is 2,000, one is 3,500. Still kind of like, this is also like, I think it's it doesn't really say like what area she lives in. So I don't know if this is like a major city or if this is like a smaller town.
Not.
I'm assuming that as well.
Yeah.
At least like maybe a middle-sized town. But
yeah. Well, when it comes to picking a photographer, I think that it's really important that you're looking through their style and that you really enjoy the way that they photograph and edit and all of that. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, when you are putting money towards this, let's do some girl math. 1,500 versus 3,500 is like, okay, when you split that up into, however many years you're going to be married, like, that's like what, like $1 a day?
Yeah,
like,
100%.
Right? Like, I know it's a lot up front, but like, you should make sure that you love the photography style.
You've used that analogy before. Like, how much is this like per day in your like the lifespan of your entire marriage?
Yeah.
So it's a good way to think about it.
Yeah. I mean, so make sure you like their style. And don't just go with a cheaper one because it's cheaper. Like the quality of the editing and the quality of their equipment, the quality of your experience with them, might be lesser.
Yeah.
Not always. Some people are just give you a really good deal and they're really talented, but still, I mean,
I would say I would totally echo that. And something I would point out as I'm reading this post, the only words that are capitalized is the sentence after she says it's 2,000 versus 3,500, and then she says, I love, capital LOVE, I love the more expensive one. And so it sounds like she's in love with this $3,500
I would say do it.
person. That's like, you're going to have these photos for the rest of your life. I know it's like pushing your budget a bit more. It's almost double the price of the other photographer, but again, like Sammy said, like it's not crazy when you think about the lifespan of your marriage.
Yeah. And those memories that you'll have captured forever.
100%. You definitely want it to be like the style that you enjoy. If the other person's just like kind of doing like basic photos and there's not really any stylistic stuff, if you're not going to enjoy them and you have a preferred one, like make sure you just go with your style over everything.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's our advice. Definitely, like, again, maybe not help with the budget side of thing, because we just said like go with the one that you love, which is kind of how it happens.
Yeah.
Reagan and I already have some stuff, like when she got her dress, it was a few $100 more than the budget, like, but it was the one that she loved. So it's like she's gonna want those photos in that dress. So it is just what it is, you know. So such as weddings.
Yeah. Okay, so the next Reddit post is about bridesmaids, to be or not to be a bridesmaid. So
this one sounds juicy already.
Yeah. So the original poster says, all right, so childhood friend asked me to be a bridesmaid at her wedding. Me and her were in the same primary school as kids. You know, they had a lot of memories together. When she was 13, she says that my parents and I moved to another country. I kept going back to the country of origin every summer. After that, I stopped going for a few years. The other friend, she moved to another country. So we saw each other even less, haven't kept in contact much, while also growing up to be completely different people. Last time I saw her was 2 years ago when she was visiting her boyfriend, now fiance. And we only saw each other for about 2 hours. We mostly talked about our childhood. Boyfriend was barely communicated. A month ago, she asked me to be a bridesmaid at her wedding next year. And in sort of a panic, I said yes. And now thinking things through, I'm reconsidering it.
Oh, wow.
Also, me and my partner have been saving for 2 years to have a year of backpacking, I guess. And while we were planning a quick trip before going backpacking, the trip would have been much earlier when the cost of flights and all of that would be literally half the price. So basically she's asking, is there any advice? Should I just suck it up for the sake of childhood friendship and that I've already said yes? Or should I be thinking about myself and my initial plan? That's a tough situation because, you know, it's her childhood friend. Sounds like they were really close. They were, you know, best friends as kids. But part of being a bridesmaid, in my opinion, is you're standing up in that person's wedding because you're saying, I support you and this other person joining together into marriage.
It sounds like one note from that, she didn't even talk to the fiance or her future husband at all. I
don't even think she's met him, it doesn't sound like.
Well, it sounded like they met up that one time, but he was like quiet. He didn't say anything.
Or he wasn't even brought up that much or something like that. Something like that. So I mean, it's tough, and it also sounds like the wedding is in a different country, so that's expensive to travel to another country, and is a big financial commitment as well. I don't know, that's a really tough situation. I mean, it doesn't sound like they're as close as they used to be, but being a bridesmaid is one of those things that you will always look back on and remember, and like it does solidify those friendships. But for some people, it can lead to division as well. There's either two. It could either lead to division or it could re-spark a friendship, you know. Totally. And I have in my wedding, I have two of my groomsmen are like childhood friends. My best man Noah, he's like one that I met in like high school, but the thing is we stayed connected. Like we talk at least once a week, once every other week, so it's like we stayed connected the entire time. We didn't like drift apart. And then I have another one who was like my first friend ever in life. Like I met him when I was 3 years old. But again, we like had some years where we didn't see each other. We saw each other like once a year. But then we've come back together in adulthood. So it's like he's in my wedding because he vouches. He's met Reagan. He knows Reagan. So it's like they know our relationship. Yeah. I would tell this person, like, obviously you already said yes. It's a hard conversation. If you want to change your mind, that's a tough conversation. Yeah. But you need to have it sooner than later. Yeah, definitely don't wait. You don't want to pull out a month or two before. Like, if you have like 6-7 months now, that gives her time to find someone else to like replace you. Yeah. And you just need to make your mind up, which kind of sucks. It's hard to be in like those positions. Yeah, for sure. And I understand that she has her own financial goals and plans and such. But totally. I don't know. That's a tough one. What would you do in this situation, Sammy? Just first off, like, Yeah. I mean, if somebody feels that we are close enough to ask me to be a bridesmaid, I feel so honored by that.
That's so
even if
true.
it's tough for me financially, I'm going to work my
Work your butt off.
my butt off and
Yeah.
do what I can. And maybe it means I can't go to the bachelorette party, or maybe it means I have to,
There's other ways to do
There's
stuff.
other ways to
Yeah.
do things, and so, yeah, I think I would still do it. If I was her, it sounds like their friendship, meant a lot to her when they were kids. And there's something about childhood friendships that just will always stick with you.
Totally.
That I just feel like even though years, have gone by,
Yeah.
there's, even with my childhood friends, it's like we definitely pick up where we left off. Like
Totally.
we might have not seen each other in like 10 years, but then we get
Sure.
together and it's like we're still laughing about old
Yeah.
times, old memories.
Back on the block, like in high school or
So
something
there's
like
something
that.
really special about that, and they do live countries apart. So I mean, it makes sense that they haven't stayed as close.
Yeah.
It's not even that maybe they're not that close. It's just the distance has kept them further apart.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think I would still do it. I mean, as long as there's time, and I mean, the backpacking, you could do that. In
You
the
can do
future
that
too.
anytime. The thing
And
with weddings,
the date is set. I mean,
Yeah.
you know exactly when you need to be there. It's only for a few days.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, well, I like getting your opinion because I think I went a different route with it, so that was good getting your insight there.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's not like you're being asked to attend a wedding. Being in a wedding is a huge honor. So it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, if you're asked to do that, obviously this bride to be sees the friendship a bit differently. So she really holds on to those childhood memories, maybe
Yeah.
more than the writer does. So it's like it's good to recognize how people view you is important. So cool.
All right.
All right, guys. Well, that's all the time we have today for these Reddit stories. Let us know if you want us to do another one of these. We love going through these. It's a bit of, some drama, some advice. Like it's, the wedding industry and weddings in general can be full of so many different stories and experiences. So let us know. And hopefully, I don't know if any of the Reddit writers hear this, but that'd be kind of interesting.
Yeah,
if
that'd
we
be
hear
wild.
back, if we read your story, let us know, unless you want to stay anonymous. I don't know. But yeah. If you want to follow us on Instagram, follow The Vendor Voices on Instagram. We post daily clips or weekly clips, and so you can check us out there. But Sammi, how can they find you and connect with you?
Yeah, you can find me at Captured by Sammi. That's my photography page. And Korrigan, how about you?
Yeah, follow me on Instagram at Korrigan.mp4. Loving all the comments we're getting from you guys. So
Yeah.
And just stay tuned every Sunday for Vendor Voices.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in, guys, and happy planning.
Happy planning. We'll
See you
see you guys
next week.
next time. Bye.